Welcome back, sports fans, and thanks for watching Thursday Nights with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Spoke, publisher of 912 Sports. Hey, want to take this opportunity to thank the sponsors of 912 Sports. We'd like to thank Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, Kim Smoke, licensed realtor with Crossway Realty, Gibson Animal Clinic, Coastal Pines Technical College, Prime South Bank, and Robbie Robertson Ford in Waycross. And we appreciate all of our sponsors here allowing us to do this Thursday night show. And coming on with us next is the head coach of the Ware County Gators, Coach Jason Strickland, who'll be up here in just a second. Hey, Coach, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, doing well, man. Doing well. Wish the weather was a little warmer.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's definitely cold over here in the cross, as they say. And, Coach, appreciate you doing the show with us tonight. We wanted to bring you on, Coach, because you're one of the few coaches in the area that actually have played both of these teams. You and I wish this conversation was a lot different tonight. We wish we were talking about playing Coffee County in the fourth round of the state playoffs, but the Gators come up just a little bit short last week, losing 34-31 to this Cartersville team. You've been in the trenches against both of these guys, Coach, and you've seen both of them play. So let's go back and look at the strengths and weaknesses of both Coffee and Cartersville and what you see in this matchup Friday night.
Well, I think, probably the thing that both of them really excel at is the line of scrimmage. They are both really, really good on the offensive and defensive line. I think Cartersville probably, after playing those guys, they may be the most technically sound group along the front that we've seen all year. And then, what they do defensively is just a little bit different. They play a lot of different coverage on the back end, do a really good job disguising. And then their defensive front is based off of movement. And I think they certainly did a good job against us of creating some confusion for our offensive line. Whereas, Coffee's a little bit different. They're from an offensive front standpoint, they're built a little bit more to try to bludgeon you to death. And they've done a great job of that kind of all year, and just using their size and along the defensive front, kind of the same thing. I don't think they're not movement oriented quite like Cartersville is. You kind of know where they're going to be, but man, they play such great technique. They're so big and strong. So I think, a lot of it, both teams kind of pride themselves and drive themselves really off great line of scrimmage play on both sides of the football. So that should really be a good matchup when it comes to that.
Yeah. Well, Coach, one of the things that you look back last week against Cartersville, I mean, we had 384 yards of offense, which is, is a good number, and I'm not knocking that. But when you go back and you look at our yards rushing, especially by our running backs, now Thomas had a good night doing some scrambling stuff, but from our running backs, it basically was non-existent. Yep. And Coffee really hangs their hat on being able to run that ball, pound that ball. I mean, do you think Coffee's going to be able to do that against this team, or are they going to have to rely a little bit more on AJ's arm?
Well, that's been a conversation we've had as a coaching staff this week is, did we think Coffee would be able to run the football on them? And I think they'll certainly run it better than we did. And, that's kind of who they are. That's a little bit of their identity. Our identity was we most of the year we wanted to throw the football, and but I'll tell you what, man, they did a heck of a job of just really kind of shutting our run game down. I mean, we didn't. I mean, outside of Thomas and some called runs and kind of some 10 personnel stuff from a running back standpoint, we just really struggled to try to get anything going there. And tip your hat to Coach Foster and those guys up at Cartersville. Asking me, do I think Coffee will be able to run? Yeah, I do. Number one, because that's their identity. That's who they are, and they do it from a various all kinds of ways that they try to put it together. Whether it's zone schemes, gap schemes, multiple formations, how successful they can be with that is going to be the question. And it's having to the other side of that is, man, they have been on the bus a lot of miles, and so how does that begin to take effect with them? But I think they are built from an offensive line standpoint to handle being able to run the football and as much variety as they have in their run game. I think that they'll have some success running the football.
Yeah. Well, Coach, and we've seen it. Matter of fact, they did it against us. They did it against veterans. Coffee is very versatile when it comes offensively. They don't have a couple different variations out of their offense. They have two completely offensive styles. I mean, they'll come out, spread it wide, and AJ can throw it all over the field, or they'll get in that power wing tee and just bludgeon you to death and put Maurice Turner back there at quarterback. So they do have that arsenal in their game. How much problem do you think that may give Coach Foster and Cartersville having to prepare for both of those offenses?
Well, and what I'd say, number one, it keeps you up at night. I mean, a lot, because it is two totally different things to have to prepare for. And the Turner kid is so explosive, and when he's back there and that single wing type stuff, he doesn't need a lot of space. And it's a matter of, kind of when they get in it, how long are they going to stay in it? And I mean, how willing are your kids to sit there and squeeze those down blocks of those big old guys coming and kicking out on you and wrapping in there? How willing are they to do that over and over and over again? And then just when you kind of physically and mentally get prepared for that, boom, here comes Wilkerson back out there, and they're opening the field back up. So, and they've kind of expanded that little single wing package they've got as the season has gone on, and added more and more to it for you to have to prepare for. And then they started using Turner in some empty formations that we've seen, and some unique things with two tight end but empty, no back in the backfield, and Turner can throw the ball just enough to you can't just commit everybody and leave uncovered receivers. So it is a pain in the neck to have to deal with. And then if you flip over to the other side offensively, Cartersville, I think, got a lot of packages, and there's a lot of things that you have to prepare for with them. And they're probably as good as anybody we saw in the RPO game. And as we look back across the course of the season, the team from an offensive standpoint that maybe gave Coffee the most trouble was veterans, and veterans did it through the RPO game. And right. They had a big night offensively with the run pass option stuff. And I think Cartersville probably does that better than anybody we've seen this year, certainly. And obviously, if the Del Rio kid, I mean, he's a big commit, big star, 4 or 5 star guy that's going to the University of Florida. He looked like that the night that they played against us here at the Swamp. If he gets hot in that RPO game, then it could be a long night for Coffee trying to stop those guys.
Yeah, Coach. And I guess the biggest thing that impressed me about him is his physical stature.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew the kid was big, but I mean, this kid is Cam Newton big. I mean, He might not be quite as big as Cam Newton, but trust me, when he gets off the bus, you don't have to say, hey, which one of those kids is Del Rio? No. I mean, unless you're trying to look for offensive tackles and middle linebackers, because, I mean, he's as big as anybody on the field.
Oh, he was the biggest player on offense they had. And, it was one of those deals where, we talked to, 10 or 11 people last week just trying to get a read for him and kind of, what's he like? Is there anything that you guys have seen that may give him trouble? And to a T, every coach that we talked to said, Coach, he will be bigger in person than, on film. And we turned the film on and he looks like a giant sitting out there. But they were 100% correct. Once we saw him in person, we were like, holy cow. I mean, he is a monster, and he plays like it. And, the thing that kind of, gets you a little bit frustrating is how he's able to just fall forward for an extra yard or two. And, it's you've played it pretty good. You feel like it's going to be 2nd and 8, 2nd and 7, and you look up and it's 2nd and 5. And, it's just kind of one of those deals. And he's not a blazer by any means. I think I would say Wilkerson and the Turner kid, certainly Turner kid, are both going to be faster than Del Rio, but he runs well. And then when you add his size to it and the knack he's got for knowing when to take off and go get a first down. I mean, that's the thing. When he goes off, I mean, he's not trying to go get a 40 or 50-yard run. He's just trying to go convert a first down, and he does that, 6-7 times in a game, keeps the drive alive, and then it just kind of emotionally breaks your back as you're trying to get him off the field.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I noticed about their defense is they are very physical and they are very fast laterally. Those linebackers run sideline to sideline as good as anybody we've seen all year. And again, just really, I mean, these guys will hit you in the mouth and get up and like it, and then the next play they're ready to do it again. And that was one of the things I took away from the game Friday night is that they're definitely a physical bunch.
Well, and I think you and I talked about it on the podcast a little bit earlier this week. Is the one thing I was impressed with is their tackling. I mean, at every level, I thought they were as good a tackling team as we had seen really all year long. And we've got some guys that are pretty slippery and can get away. And we just had moments where through the course of the season you get an 8-play. An 8-yard play, Jerry Wilkins able to make somebody miss, and boom, all of a sudden it's a 40-yard play, or Thomas, or whoever it may be. And we just couldn't get that. And that's a credit to them. They just did a really good job of controlling yards after catch, controlling Thomas, and making sure an 8-yard play was an 8-yard play. It wasn't a 40-yard play. And I think that's the question that is really going to come into play with Coffee and their offense is, can they get some chunk yardage going? Because it's just, once you get to this time of year, weather starts coming into play. How many times we got to get on a bus and go make a long trip? Man, it gets really hard to consistently put together 12 and 13 play drives, and Cartersville, really all year long has made people do that. The other thing that I'll say too with Cartersville is, and it's been every game, you go back and look, man, they do a great job of creating turnovers. And that was probably the story in our game. We had 3 turnovers. But man, they have done it every game, and can Coffee make sure they're protecting the football, and you just can't give Del Rio extra possessions.
Definitely can't give him short yardage. Well, Coach, you alluded to it a couple of times, the travel. Coffee, when this thing is said and done, if they get to go to the state championship game, will have traveled 2,200 miles, 2,284 miles to be exact. Just tonight, if they, once they get back from Cartersville on Friday night, they'll have traveled 1,896 miles. I mean, that is insane, Coach. I mean, you wouldn't have guessed that, or you wouldn't wish that on your worst enemy as far as travel goes. I mean, it's just about, I don't know. I mean, I don't keep up with these records. I'm not a historian or anything like that, but it's got to be the most that any football team has traveled in the playoffs in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of travel, and they've done it every round. I can remember back several years ago when we were at Charlton, we did a bunch of travel one year playing for the state championship against Calhoun. I think the difference is our first round we hosted, and then second round we went from Folkestone to Heard County. The third round we went to Folkestone to Buford. Fourth round, that was back when they had the semifinals at the Dome, so we went to the Dome, and then for the state championship drove up to Calhoun. But this is every round. And, you start talking about Douglas, Georgia to Ola High School in the first round, and then it just gets further from there. That's a lot of wear and tear on your body. How do the kids handle that? How do the coaches really, how are they responding to that? My guess is, if you ask Coach Randy Garrett, Coach Robbie Pruitt, and that whole group, as long as they can keep playing, they'll play wherever. And,
exactly.
But it does, you start kind of, probably kind of wearing that mantle as a cape almost of, hey man, look, we'll go play anywhere. We've done all this traveling. We're going to go travel again. And then, hey, we got to get one more. And then, hey, we're going to travel back to Atlanta and play for state championship. So that's got to be the mentality. But I can tell you physically, it takes a toll. It takes a toll. I know when we went to Creekside, it was Monday or Tuesday, really, before the coaches, I think, kind of
got their feet back under.
We're back up under our feet, but that comes into play. I will say this, too, Sean. I think where Coffee maybe has the big advantage is special teams, and the Sailor kid is phenomenal. I think really in all phases of the special teams category. I mean, they are really, really exceptionally coached and perform at a very, very high level. Have done it all year long. We were able to get a little bit of pressure on their punt game in our game that I think kind of gave us some pretty good field advantages against Coffee. But I'd say overall, Coffee probably has the big advantage in special teams. I could see it late in a game, tight, something like that. A big special teams play coming into play. The other thing too, I'd say is, the Sailor kid's going to kick it in the end zone. If they score, Cartersville's got to go 80 yards, and that that comes into a big momentum swing as well.
Right, and you got Maurice Turner's going to return everything if he gets a chance. I mean, he's going to be running back kicks, he's going to be running back punts. So I mean, that definitely helps your special teams. Well, the good thing for Coffee is if they do make it to the state championship, Coach, it'll be their shortest road trip by about 50 miles round trip. So they do have that advantage. Well, Coach, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what about a prediction for Friday night?
I don't know. I will say this. I am predicting Coffee to win the game. I'm predicting it to be very, very, very close. Something like 24-21, somewhere in that range. But I am taking Coffee to win the game. Just it'll be a tight one. they're gonna. I mean, obviously, you're gonna have to play well to win this week. Everybody's really, really well coached and got great players, but I think it may be their time to wind up back in the state championship.
Good deal. We're all pulling for him here out of the 9-1-2. Well, Coach, we did have you on to talk about this, but I know that there were some other things that you wanted to address, and so I'm just going to give you the floor and let you address that situation.
Well, it's that time of year, Sean, where coaches get moving around and openings take place and all those sorts of things. And you and I were talking earlier, and it's one thing. I think everybody kind of has fun a little bit with. I wonder who would get that job, or what name would get mentioned, what school. I mean, what coach is that school looking at, and those sorts of things. And it's that time of year. I think that keeps interest up with fans with that type of conjecture. But there was a statement made on a show yesterday over within the game that I had applied for a job, and that is I want to make sure that is understood. That is completely, absolutely false. And I regret that in the game and those guys made that. That's kind of the second time this year that they've put out some false information about me or the Ware County football program. Earlier in the year, they put out something about season ticket sales being double priced here, and it's just not accurate. And I just wish one of the things I appreciate about you guys. I think you guys do a great job of putting out stuff that is factual, and if it's not, then you kind of try to go to the horse's mouth and find out information. But I am not applying for any job. We are in a great spot. I think we got the best job in the state of Georgia, and we're excited about the future of Ware County and where it's at, and glad that they're letting us be a part of it. I just hate that things like that kind of get out, because once it takes place, then my phone starts blowing up, and deservedly so. But it just we ask that those guys over there in the game kind of do a little better job with the information again, because it completely inaccurate there.
Exactly. I mean, and it's one thing to talk about coaches making a move, but when you make a false statement about somebody applying for a job, you need to have your facts straight a little bit better than that. But
even us as coaches, we sit around and just I wonder if so and so is going to be interested in that job, or I wonder if so and so will talk to that coach, or we do that all the time. But
right.
when you start getting on social media or platforms and making statements that, hey, I've got information that says so and so has applied. Well, you need to have your facts straight there, and that was that was as bad a statement and misinformation as really I've ever dealt with in my career. So
right.
It just completely not true.
Right. Well, Coach, the one thing about it is when you're a top flight coach like yourself and your staff is, these rumors are always going to be there. People are always going to be speculating, and we understand that. And listen, I'll speak for all of Ware County. We're damn proud to have you, and we're lucky to have you, and we hope you guys stay here for a long time. But like I said, when you deal with that upper echelon, it's always that way. Same way in college, same way in pros, same way in high school. The good guys are always going to be sought after. They're always going to be, quote, on the move. But again, like I said, we're glad that you're here, and we're happy that you're a Ware County Gator.
Well, we are certainly glad to be here, and it's not just me. Michelle is as excited as I've ever seen her with her career and her job and what she's got to do. And the other thing I've said too is really kind of for the first time ever, basically everybody on my staff's bought a house here.
Right.
So everybody's got a mortgage payment. We're here. We're excited about it, man. The future looks bright. We've got two great, unbelievable middle school programs, and what they're setting up with Kevin and Chad are just doing an unbelievable job. Jason with our 9th grade program, it's everything is in place. I think for this to be really, really special for a long time, and I know how passionate our community is, and man, we're sick that we didn't get that thing done last Friday. But we're excited. I can't tell you how excited that we are about the future of what we've got planned and what's coming down the road. And I think the leadership is in place with everything that you need to be successul. And that's what we're excited about. Everybody knows kind of what that Tifton situation, they're going to hire a great football coach. I don't know who it's going to be, but I can tell you who it's not going to be. But they'll hire a great football coach, and they'll go do great things. But I can tell anybody if Jason Strickland's name gets mixed in anything, you can go ahead and squash it, because he's a Ware County Gator and proud to be.
All right. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on here, sharing that information about both of those football teams. We'll be watching intently Friday night to see if Coffee can go up there and get it handled. And Coach, you and Michelle if we don't talk to you anymore, have a Merry Christmas, and we look forward to talking to you in the spring, buddy.
Hey, you too, man. Go Gators. Appreciate all you guys do, man. Seriously. Thank you.
I appreciate it. That's Coach Jason Strickland, head coach of the Ware County Gators, and you got to hear it from the horse's mouth right here on Thursday nights with 912 Sports. Coach Strickland is happy at Ware County. He has not applied at Tifton, regardless of what other people have been sending out there. So just so you know that looks to be a Ware County Gator for a long time. But, hey, we'll be right back here after these messages. Thanks for watching Thursday nights with 912 Sports.